Hi, welcome to Bookie. Today we will unlock the book, Factfulness, 10 Reasons We're Wrong About the World, and Why Things Are Better Than You Think. By Hans Rosling, Ola Rosling, and Anna Rosling Runland. Before we begin, let's first consider a key question to understand this book. Do you think the world is going to get better or worse in the future? After years of research, the authors of this book have found that most people believe that our world is heading towards a negative path that will worsen in the upcoming year. If you ask them why such a negative perspective of the future, many will most likely cite the endless negative news about the destructions caused by environmental pollution, violent crimes, plane crashes, road accidents, new diseases as evidence that a darker future is on the way. However, to answer this question from a clear perspective, it is necessary to look at factual data and understand the truth behind it. We will learn how to do it in today's Bookie. The lead author of this book, Hans Rosling, was a high school teacher for a long period of his life, and his observations from that time have inspired him to write this book. Rosling discovered that even highly educated students have a great deal of misunderstandings about the world, not because they lack knowledge, but because they oversimplify it. Because many of us are emotionally impulsive, our knowledge tends to become out of date. After years of research and analysis, Rosling has put together a list of 10 common flawed ways of thinking that will help us understand why we have so many misconceptions about the world, and how we can develop a more rational understanding of it. For better comprehension, we have grouped the 10 common flawed ways of thinking discussed in the book into 3 parts. Part 1, Flawed Thinking Caused by Oversimplification. Part 2, Flawed Thinking Caused by Emotional Impulses. Part 3, Flawed Thinking Caused by Insufficient Knowledge. Part 1, Flawed Thinking Caused by Oversimplification. The human brain has evolved over thousands of years to produce a variety of instincts that helped our ancestors survive in harsh environments. Oversimplification is one of the thinking habits that had arisen from such instincts. For example, to avoid imminent danger, our primitive ancestors couldn't think before they reacted to it. They relied on simplifying their thought processes in order to reach fast conclusions and react quickly to a threat. To this day, we continue to generalize things and jump to conclusions without thoroughly giving thought to our assumptions. This instinctive behavior often clouds our judgment and causes us to make mistakes. One of the most common flawed ways of thinking that is caused by oversimplification is the gap instinct. It is the tendency we have to divide everything into 2 opposing categories so we can easily identify with either of them. For instance, the concept of developed and developing countries, or the poor and rich. In other words, the gap instinct is the human inclination to see everything as being either black or white. A typical example of the gap instinct occurred when Rosling told his students that living conditions are getting better, even for those living in undeveloped tribes in the rainforest. After sharing this statement with the class, one of his students made a remark saying, "They'll never be able to live like us." Rosling was not surprised to witness that other students agreed. He knew that, from their perspective, Western countries and societies have been on a progressive path for so long, collaborating to create an image of the rich part of the world. On the contrary, non-Western civilizations are seen underdeveloped, and will never be as rich as their opposites. In the same class, another student had argued that the world can be divided into 2 categories, developed and developing nations. The same student also suggested 2 key indicators that would serve as the basis for this hypothetical division: the average number of children in a family, and the child mortality rate. So, Rosling crunched the 1965 data on these 2 indicators, and found that, indeed, countries generally fell into the categories identified by the student, with 44 countries in the developed group and 125 in the developing one. However, if the 1965 data were to be replaced by data from 2017, the results would be quite different. Using the same 2 indicators, in 2017, almost 85% of countries in the world fell into the developed category, while only 6% fell into the developing category. Rosling used this example to tell his students that the world is constantly changing.